The Drake Michigan podcast is sponsored by Masterpiece, the nano heavy metal detox miracle. Start your journey to freedom from toxins, heavy metals, graphene and forever chemicals. For more information and to purchase this miracle product, see the description below. Welcome everyone to another episode of Reflections on the Drake Michigan channel. And we've had a few things going on just recently. Come across a lot of stuff online and conversations, and something what's quite interested me. And that is, are we all the same? And we're going to delve into that, and it's a lot broader than just actually asking the question, are we all the same? You know, physically on the outside, you know, and obviously we look different, and different races and religion and everything. We're going to delve right into this. But basically, what if we're not all the same? And then if we're not, do the other people know that they are not the same?
It's a good question.
So this is where I wanted to delve into this episode. Good so we'll probably title this up after is why do you feel like you do, and is it because we're not the same? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a good one of the things I would say when say when I was going through my period of awakening and my sort of truth finding and corruption finding kind of years, which hasn't finished, but it became apparent to me, and I remember saying it to friends of mine. You do realise, when you get to the point where you realise the people orchestrating these false flag events are not the same as you. In fact, the politicians, they're not the same as you. So don't think that they think the same as you or feel the same as you, because they're not the same as you.
Yeah, they're definitely, and this is where when we'll go into this is where I want to start breaking it down.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone will have an opinion on this, right? So, like politicians and everything else, so what we know is that they think differently. Right?
Yeah.
And this is a good thing to start the conversation, actually. So, about 10 years ago, I remember I was at a lady's house and I was doing a job with one of my friends. And we got talking, and it just so happened that this woman, she was an activist, a Labour a Labour activist, doing a lot of work for good causes and all the rest of it. But what was quite surprising when we got talking to her dad was, and he'd passed now, but her dad was actually the mayor of Chorley.
Right.
And he was a conservative, a conservative supporting mayor.
Right.
And she said to me, she was always brought up with a dad's knowledge, indoctrinating her really.
Yeah.
Saying there's them and there's us.
Right. Okay.
And we're not the same.
Yeah.
Right. Now, and that opens up a lot of questions of things like, the who and the where and agendas.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to know is when they're talking about there's them and there's us, do they mean there's us that are wealthy and that we've got money and they think they're better than other people?
Yeah.
Right? And they think they're looking at the people lower in society as vermin and rats and useless eaters and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Or do they actually mean there's us, like a different breed, a different soul or spirit, and there's them?
Yeah.
Right. Now, and the reason I say that is because there's other people we've met and had conversations where that might actually be true. But then it opens up another thing what I want to talk about is, if people are different, does that other person know that they are different?
Yeah, good. These are good questions, and because you could only talk about your own self, can't you? Really, your own being and whatever. So, when you're talking about, do they know if they are different in terms of, are they spiritually different than you are? Have they come from a different place?
Yes, but so before we get into that, because I think that's when we get a bit later on in this episode. I think that's where it's going to get like nitty gritty. But with let's just do with what we can the first layer.
Okay, well the first layer, I would say, if we're talking first layer, you've got your aristocratic type or Eton schoolboy types, and say the Tory party, who maybe think yes, those northern kind of working class scumbags are just vermin, and yes, we are better than them, and they're just going to have to do our dirty work for us. And I would imagine that's gone through centuries, you know.
But that though, right? if you're born into wealth or money, right? So what that is, that's education. That's basically you're being taught something. That's a belief.
Yeah.
That's not actually you are different. That you might that's like a class issue, like where you're saying, "Oh, look, I'm better than you," right? So that's not really the difference that I really want to get at, because I think we understand that.
Yeah.
And I tell you what's called, because in our lives, and you would have had this as well, especially when people have a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And you tell me if I'm wrong, but when I started having a spiritual, I suddenly thought then, like, you want to help everybody. Right, and everybody deserves a chance. This kind of thing. Now, to be honest, I'd like to think I was always a bit like that. Anyway, if you see a homeless person, you give them a fiver, or
sure.
you know what I mean. Help someone who's less
fortunate. Yeah.
But not everybody does think like that either. Right. No. So that's something we want to cover as well, because not everybody's empathic or cares or gives a toss about other people.
No.
But over the years, I've actually changed the way I feel. I don't know what to say the way I think, because I would like to think everybody deserves a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I have noticed is you can give all your time and energy to try and help others, and what you're doing is you're completely draining yourself. It's a pointless task. Some people, and it sounds horrible to say, but some people, I'm not going to say they don't deserve help, but they don't want it, or they're never going to change. So it's like you can argue about the people at the top having one opinion, but it's also at the bottom as well.
I think it's like you said, you've changed your feelings on things. I think it's a learning process for us as individuals, and a growth process as well, because you can only spread yourself out too thinly, can you? If I would only want to help somebody that wanted to be helped. I've done it myself where I've tried, and you're wasting a lot of energy in that respect. Not that I wouldn't ever help anybody at all, but let's be honest, if they don't want any help, you're just wasting your time.
But do you not find, because I've done like let's be honest, most people as well, they'll say like, especially when they're struggling, they'll say, if I could just get my hands on X amounts of money, I'd be all right. Mm-hmm. And then even if you give them the money 2 weeks later, it does. Yeah. So, but what I've found is if you give people the information and the knowledge, you'll soon find out if they really want it.
Yeah.
If they wanted to. That's why on our platform we have so much what's available for free. Because if people were prepared to change and they took all the free stuff on board, and they realised, whoa, my life's starting to change. What that does is it opens you up to saying, well, like, I'm going to push my life. They might go off on a Tony Robbins course or a Joe Dispenza course or, whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they're never going to go on to that unless they've done that initial work on the self.
Yeah.
So they have to change, don't they?
They do.
But what I wanted to get more as in, like, so let's bring in, like, say, someone like David Icke.
Okay.
Right. So David Icke talks about that there's these different entities or different reptilians that possibly could live amongst us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, until we have that interview, which hopefully will be soon, with David Icke, I don't know if he actually means a reptilian is underneath the skin of a human and actually like that.
Like an entity attachment type.
Or does he mean the energy and the soul and the spirit of this? And I tell you for why, because I saw something recently when he said he'd come across somebody and they looked straight through him, right? And they sort of looked him up and down and looked away, and he said their eyes were like black pearls. He said it's almost like they had no soul.
Yeah.
They were an empty vessel, and you could look straight through them.
Yeah.
Now, I could relate to that because I've had 2 episodes in my own life where that's happened.
Yeah.
You know, I had once I was in a supermarket. I might have had 3 occasions actually, but anyway, two that comes to mind while I'm talking now. I was in the supermarket just doing the shopping one day, and this little old woman,
Right.
she seemed to follow me down every aisle.
Right.
But when she was coming down the aisle, she was just staring at me. But it was more of a weird stare. It was almost like, you can see me, right? Now, obviously, there was a woman there, right? But when I looked at her, there was no eyes.
Right. Okay.
They were black.
Yeah.
Right? And then there was another time, I'd come out in my car and I'd gone down to the traffic lights from where I was, and I turned down, and there was just a man, and he had like a raincoat thing on, and he was just stood at the side of the tree.
Right.
But the way he looked to me and he caught my attention, the way he made me feel, it was as if like he was stood there because he knew I was going to be driving past.
Okay.
And when I looked at him, and he looked again, it was I saw the eyes, and it was almost as if they were checking on me.
Right. Okay.
It was just weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what you do is you start to think, oh, I've just, maybe the light, or you try and come up with some rationalisation.
Your brain will rationalise stuff that it doesn't recognise.
Yeah, because obviously that's not normal behaviour or everyday reality. So you think, well, there must be something.
Yeah.
Right. But now, what I want to know now is, let's say that little old woman in the supermarket, was she something different, or was something attached and using her as a vessel? Like an entity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I ask this as well is because I know firsthand from experiences and what I've seen is when you're going through difficult periods in your life and your stress and depression and you're acting out of fear and worry and you're on a low vibration, you're opening yourself up to get attacked.
Definitely.
Psychically.
Definitely.
Right? But not just psychically, right? Because not every, but what you'll find is, and let's talk about people who don't believe in any of that kind of stuff. People who are on a low vibration, they'll be like, get up in the morning and they'll bang the toe.
Yeah.
They'll drop the coffee all over everything seems to just go against you.
It's energetic.
Do you know what I mean?
Though,
you can't get the kids out for school. The dog's barking. You slipped on the dog shit. Everything seems to be going wrong, right? But when you're in this low vibration, that's how life feels.
Well, you're going to attract all that anyway because you're in a low vibration.
And this sort of thing. Now, the thing is, when you're in that low vibration, I believe your energy field is weak.
Definitely.
It's very low.
Definitely.
Right? And this is why some people will say, look, have yourself a session of healing and all this kind of stuff.
Definitely.
That's a whole different subject, whether, but when you're in this low vibration, what if then negative entity or energy, because it's all in an energy, right, thinks, oh, there's an easy victim, right? Because we know now as well, there's a lot of research out there where people who suffer with split personalities, bipolar, depression, they could actually have an entity attached to them. Yeah. Maybe they've gone through some kind of trauma or some negative, or where they've been in a low vibration of fear. Yeah. Maybe they used to be alcoholics, maybe they used to be drugs, maybe they used to be sex. It could be anything where they're in this. Now, if an entity then has attached itself to you, it will then manipulate you. But that person then doesn't know.
The thing is, if an entity sees a crack in that etheric field, there's an opportunity, isn't there?
Yes.
And I've witnessed, being a pub landlord, many people, when they're drinking and they're intoxicated, acting, and it's not just alcohol, they become very different people. And I've done it myself, I've been different. Yeah. And I think you can attract, and you might logically be thinking, well, that's just my imagination, I've got an intrusive thought or whatever, but who's to say then it's not something else that's tapping on your head and making you feel that way or to think that way.
I mean, we in stories gone by, there's talk about like an angel and a devil on either shoulder, and I mean, thing is, if you went down the doctor's route, they would talk about like it's all your personality or post-traumatic stress. They'll come up with their own list of things.
Yeah,
and most people, the majority of people, will accept that, and they'll probably start taking medication. But I know as well from my experience what happened to me in Blackpool and what I was allowed to see that day was, whoa, that's not the answer. There's a lot more to this world than's going on. Now, the thing is, you mentioned before, if you believe in ghosts or you believed in a spirit or you believed in a god or a higher power, then surely then you would be open that there's a lot more to this world that we don't realise.
100%, Kev. Yeah,
right. 100%. Because and also you've heard as well in the past, like I think they're called jumpers.
Yeah.
Where people see an opportunity to jump into a body.
Yeah.
And then suddenly people's personalities change. They're a different person.
There's we are in a duality. There is good and bad. So if there's demons, there's angels. If there's, do you know what I mean? And there's opportunity. If you, like I said, we can go on it. The low vibration people who are acting in that low vibe, and if they're out there doing low vibe things, be it getting completely pissed out of their minds, having affairs, fighting, being aggressive, blah blah blah. Chances are you're going to invite an opportunist entity in there.
But coming back to the original thing of like, but are we the same? So what we're saying though then, so the person, the body or the person, the character was the same, but then something has happened to them.
Yeah.
Now they're acting differently? Because if we just briefly move on to like religion.
Okay.
So, if you're brought up Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, Christian, blah blah blah, right? You are not actually any of those. You have been taught.
That's an identity.
That's an identity. That's a tag.
Yeah.
Right. And people are passionate and they believe in this and everything else. So again, that doesn't really make you different than me. That's just a different teaching.
It's ego. That's a misidentification.
So like even the different colours of a skin, that doesn't make you different to me.
No.
Right? Because I was thinking as well, it's like, so if you had someone who grows up and they think they're going to be a thief or a murderer or, but maybe they were brought up in social surroundings where they had to fight their way out of
it's programming.
So that's programming. So that doesn't mean you're different.
No.
Right? It just means your circumstances have made you and put you in this position. But when I was a kid, and I've mentioned this before, and you've had this, and I've spoke to many people, they have this little feeling. It's not that you think you're special. You just feel that you're different.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people you speak to, especially empathic people, they say, I can't put my finger on it, I just feel different.
Well, there's some people who feel that they're not from here.
And that's another thing. So now, like, listen, I wouldn't say now I'm any different than the next person, right? Like, I don't feel like I'm from anywhere. But I know we have met some people who believe they are star seeds or they've come to this earth at this special time. Mm-hmm. So is their soul and their spirit different to a normal human being, if you like? And that's if all human beings have got souls and spirits, by the way.
Well, this is the thing. It's very complex. So it's quite a complex thing, because you could have an empty vessel. You could, the meat suit could literally be an empty vessel that an agent Smith has jumped into and is then manipulating somebody's free will and their kind of reality, if you like, to take them on a different path. But
it's interesting you say that, because we've come through some teachings lately, or met a few people, haven't we, where, first of all, from a science point of view, or facts, if you like, apparently, I don't know if it's a large number, 50, 60% or whatever, people actually walk around and actually never have a thought in their head all day, which that baffles me. Because I would have thought everyone's head is full of thoughts and thinking about things and feelings. Yeah. But apparently not everybody's like that. Right. Now, that doesn't mean we're different, but that is in a way, that is a bit different, isn't it? Because it's like, why are you not? If you're not someone who like thinks about the day or worries or a situation or whatever, like literally, apparently people walk around and actually don't have thoughts.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, is it anything to do with the fact that they've had bad programming and they're switched off from the world around them, or?
But what if they're empty vessels being used? Because this is the fantastic, and we're going to be speaking to someone as well soon about like the simulation thing.
Yeah.
What if there is only a certain number of people on this planet who are real souls and alive?
Yeah.
But then what happens if we're trapped here, or we're here and we're trying to get out? We're trying to realise who we are, right? And then when things keep happening in your life, that is things to try and stop you.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, a lot of people, empathic people, will be like, every time they're like, it's one step forward, 2 steps back, there's always a blockage, like, that's trying to stop them.
It's the Agent Smith.
Every time you try and get a step closer to God, it's almost, or the source, or whatever you want to call it, it's almost like, oh, no, don't let him, hold him back. Well, he's getting too close.
If we're in a video game, you're going to want challenges, otherwise the video game's boring. So if those characters are thrown into your arena to slow you down, it's just literally to give you that challenge, isn't it? But it's don't make it easy. And when your emotions are involved, and when your love for your family say is involved, there's a real high pressure moment, or you lose a family member or something like that. Those challenges are tough, and it would be hard for you on a human logical sense to say that you're in a video game and it's an Agent Smith moment.
Yeah.
But I would say that is my feeling is it's a nailed on experience. I think that there are so many pure souls, and there are many others trying to halt your path to finding your true self. And right. I think that's where the challenges are.
That's interesting.
I mean, obviously I can't prove anything, but that's my feeling. I've researched it, and there's a lot of people who come with the same conclusions. So.
I tell you what I wanted to bring up, and I said this as well, and I might document this over the coming months so everybody can sort of follow the journey as well. So when I was at a very, very low negative energy, back in the days of, say, Blackpool, where I feel like I was psychically attacked, but I was also being physically attacked on the outside world. Everything was going against me, lost everything, lost my business, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, but once I'd sort of decided, look, you've completely broke me. There's nothing left of me, if you like. I was literally that far down. There was only one way up. And then what happened is my soul or my spirit or myself, I started to fight back. And then over a period of time, I started to get back my self-confidence. I started to build my self-empowerment, started to try and take control back of my life. I threw myself headlong into work, which I think is important to have a focus or a direction, because while you're doing that, nothing else can, because I always say if you're somebody who's having a lot of negative or intrusive thoughts, you need to find a way of constantly thinking about something else, or filling your mind, breaking up the day, breaking up the pattern, putting a little scratch on the CD of the mind, if you like.
Yeah.
Because, that cognitive
because
therapy.
You're trying to remove the cycle. Aren't you?
But what I found was, over the years then, I started to build, and there's a thing by Hester Hicks, and it's called the emotional scale, I think, and it starts off with the lowest vibration of like fear and worry, and then it goes up to sort of anxiety and depression, and then eventually you work your way up into happiness and joy and enlightenment.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I've definitely gone all the way down this rainbow of colours, and I had to work my way all the way back up.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, when you're near the top, if you like, you're acting on a very high vibration, a vibration of love, a vibration of happiness. You're never thinking of anything going wrong, and what happens is, in turn, is everything seems to go right. You're no longer slipping on the dog shit and banging your toe on the table, right? Every door before you even get to it, it's like someone's opening it. In you come, Kevin. That kind of thing. And I definitely spent after spending many years in the low vibrations, I was then able to spend 5-6 years in the very much high vibrations
Yeah.
and attract fantastic abundance and everything else into my life, right? Now, what happens then is as well, things happen in your life. These people come into your life, obstacles, trying to bring you down your energy.
Yeah.
Right. And then what I found is over the last maybe probably a couple of years, it's like certain people are coming into your life and then your energy starts to be dragged down. And suddenly these feelings, what you've never really had for a while, suddenly you're like, well, why is that bothering me so much? Why am I worried about that? You know, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that. Little things start affecting you on the physical life. And you know what I mean? So you start getting pulled down this emotional scale. And then what's interesting to see now is like, because I feel like energy wise, I've been completely drained again. Right. So like I almost not as never. It's never going to be as bad as it was back in the day. But I do feel like I've like emotionally, physically, and everything. I'm exhausted at the moment. I feel like I've had all my energy completely zapped from me. I feel like for the last couple of years I've just been giving, and it just leaves you in a state of like,
why?
Crap and why? And so that's something to want to what's good. But I wanted to bring in there. Made a few notes because people might have heard of it or whatever. I wanted to bring in energy vampires.
Yeah.
Right. But coming back to the topic of are we all the same? Because what I want to know is, does an energy vampire know they're an energy vampire? Or is it just, again, is it because there's an entity attached to them? Is it because of their own issues?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're talking energy vampires, well, you know, the matrix that we're in, the video game that we're in, because it's a challenge and it's controlled, the archons that are controlling it. Well, if you remember the Disney movie Monsters Inc.
Yes.
So Monsters Inc. is pretty much an allegory of the way that the Matrix runs, the way that the archons will work. So the archons, we are food.
Yes.
We are basically our low vibration energy is food for them. So they want to keep everybody on a low vibrational state. Hence why there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of wars, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of whatever. Yeah. Because it keeps us, because they want us down there. And also that
ties into why this reincarnation soul trap.
Yeah.
Because apparently on this 3D level, apparently it's really important for us to keep coming back here to feed them. Because if we're not, if they're not eating or they're not feeding on us on our low energy, if everybody was to transcend and lift, they would be stuck.
They've no food.
And if you think about it, would that not be a hell?
Well, it's. I mean, I wouldn't want to go down too far down into the sort of new age kind of thing of ignoring that either, because people, the new ages, they love to ignore the fear stuff, don't they? Like just think positive,
positive,
and whatever.
But we know that's not true.
I don't think it's possible. You know, at the end of the day, it is part of our reality, and it's part of us as well. We do feel like shit. We do get angry. We do have those moments of fear. More often than we'd like. Yeah. And I think we have to recognise that and sort of accept that and transcend that and then move forward.
Because we know our emotions and our feelings are being listened to by the harmony of the universe. And also there is a karmic cycle where things come back. So the last thing we want to be, I can understand from the New Age point of view where they're saying, look, let's all be peace and love and light, and that would be a wonderful world. But I don't think that's this reality of this world. But
it isn't, and ultimately without the opposite, you're not gonna.
Well, that's the yin and the yang.
It just wouldn't work. The only thing I would say about this reality, in terms of the dark side and whatever, is that there's lack of balance. It's been we're very pushed into a corner at the moment. The ones that want to enjoy life, and we're talking about energy vampires. Who's to say an individual that hasn't got an entity attachment? It's not it's some kind of archonic kind of entity that is actually, because you're good-natured, say it's you, for example, that they are feeding off that. And the fact that they've actually even got you feeling like shit, that's even more loose for them. They can take even more from you. But they might not realise that consciously.
But do you think as well, do you know why? Because let's say there must be people I know I don't want to say people high up, if you like, in power or whatever, but let's say the people in power, they might already know this stuff. So this is why they need the wars and they need the negative news, because they know when you're on a low vibration energy, it's feeding time.
Of course it is.
It's feeding time. And the thing is, so can you imagine now all those people who are going through like fear and worry and stress? Basically, they're open now. They're open to being attacked.
Of course, yeah.
Right. So, and I wanted to share this with you because I made a couple of notes, right? So people who have never heard or might never have come across energy vampires, right? And this could be a family member, it could be a work colleague, it could be a parent. They can come anywhere, because they might have had something attached themselves to them when they were going through a difficult. So they would never know. No. But then they've become this. And everyone will relate to it as well, by the way, because everyone will know somebody who's just like this. Oh,
definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So let me just read this. First of all, I put,
if you're enjoying everything that we're doing here at Drake, Michigan, please subscribe, ring my bell, and let's enjoy this journey together.
Energy vampires versus narcissists, because the two are very similar.
Yeah.
Right? But the only difference I could find was narcissists actually get pleasure from hurting someone and being vindictive.
Yeah.
Right. So so let's not get that confused, because I mean that's a bit more sinister. That's more like someone's like that's a nasty trait, isn't it? But just going back to an energy vampire, are extremely self-centered and always want to be the center of attention. They try to dominate a conversation, often not letting others speak or speaking over them. Mm-hmm. Their focus has to be on them, and they will always try to bring the conversation back to them. Mm-hmm. Right, so I get the feeling like an energy vampire is, basically it's all them. Anyway, I went on to put, energy vampires are attracted to empaths.
Yeah.
They feed on their positive energy and drive. They are trying to fill a black hole void in their own existence and personality. Mm-hmm. So obviously, these people wouldn't realise they're an energy vampire. They will probably be having these feelings of they don't understand why they're feeling this emptiness and this black void, and they're looking for something to fill it. Yeah. Almost like someone trying to find happiness.
Sure.
But what they're doing is they're stealing someone else's happiness and joy.
And they'll be attracted to, like I say, this says about the empaths, they'll be attracted to that. They'll be attracted to the light. It's like flies on one of the fly trap lights. They'll just come straight to it, won't they? They'll see you and they'll jump all over it.
But I think it's also I'm not going to give credit, but what I would say is I don't think they know.
I don't think consciously they're thinking
that's what I mean. Yeah, I don't think that, because then that would be more of a narc. If you're purposely going out to do that, then but if you're thinking like, if you're somebody who just wants someone to listen to all your worries and your problems and blah blah, what you're doing is you're nicking someone's energy, aren't you?
Absolutely, and someone who's low vibe probably wouldn't want to feel that they're doing that either. They would make them feel worse if maybe that they feel that they're doing that. Yeah. But as an individual looking after, you've got to look after your own energy as well. You've got to, in a way, it's very hard, but to recognise the fact that your energy is being sapped a little bit.
Well, when I looked, I've got to be honest. I mean, the number one thing it said is you have to get yourself as far away from them as possible, right? That to complete get away. That's not always going to be possible, especially if it's a family member and all the rest of it. Yeah. But you've got to sort of draw the boundaries then, or try and have a break from them.
Boundaries are key. Absolutely.
And I'm sure a lot of people will relate to this. They'll think, we've all been to somewhere where we've gone into a room, listened, and we've come away and we just feel like shit. We feel drained.
Look, at the end of the day, I don't think we could ever be, you and I, because we've had experiences, could ever be arrogant enough to think there's nothing more than just the five senses trap. There's much more to than this world. If you walk in, it's like when I had the pub, you only needed one individual to come into that room. There could be 200 people in the pub, but one individual could come in and change the atmosphere like that.
Yeah. They bring the whole cloud, don't they?
They do, but let's also say, if there is, and I truly believe that there is these entities, demonic, dark, whatever you want to call them, archonic, they're also good. There's also good ones.
Well, you'd like to think, if there is, like, say, a demonic or an entity and it's attached to you, then surely a light energy or a positive energy would see that and say, I don't think so, you're not picking on...
Well, do you think about then the times you've had in your life where some absolutely unbelievable incident and some individual has come and changed things in a positive way,
yes,
or spoke to you, or just got in the way? You know,
yes,
there are beings. We have the ones that take us on distraction, but we have the ones who get us back on the path as well.
That is true. Yeah. Now, and I just met a few notes here, because obviously people who are on low vibrations, they normally find where these entities attach them, people who suffer from mental health conditions, certain attachment types. They might have gone through past trauma.
Yeah.
But again, what I think what it means is, it's like, when you're going through a bad patch in your life and your energy is very low, this is when you're open to being attacked.
Yeah.
Right. So even if people didn't accept that from like a supernatural phenomenon level, I think you could still accept that from your everyday human level. It's definitely better if you can feel positive than negative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but if you took that on board and said, okay, what do I need to do? And now, hey, we all know the basics. Listen, if you can go and have a walk by nature and water, there's some kind of cleansing happens.
There is, yeah.
A bit new agey, but people they reckon there's a lot in crystals. We know there's the universe is made up of vibrations and frequencies. Yeah. So there's a lot in the sound stuff. We don't know enough information at the moment, but there's a lot of people doing this light language, and we've had a laugh and a joke about it, but that's because of our lack of knowledge, right? Because we don't know enough about it. But if they're sort of raising a vibration and frequency to try and shatter this darkness that seems to be plaguing, because there is a bit of a darkness at the moment. Everyone seems to be feeling a bit of like
I think very much recently with what's going on in Gaza, for example, and then there's just numerous things around the world that are creating a low vibration and energy that's very low.
and it's interesting as well, because again, the average person might have not come at this, but they talked about, where the fall of Rome.
Yeah.
Right. And I come across this recently. Apparently, in the last days, and when we say days, we mean like months or maybe a year or two. In the last days of Rome, they put a circus on every single day. A distraction. Now, I know we're so many thousands of years later, but you look at life now. The other week you had Ukraine and Zelensky. Before that you had the health
You're still
issues.
begging for money.
Yeah, well, no, he said he'll have it on credit now and give it him back. But what I'm trying to say, every day there's another circus in town, isn't there?
There is.
Distraction.
It's almost 2 a week now. It is constant.
It is. So are we living through this change in times? Because like the end of an empire.
I think it's an end of an empire.
The end of an empire. Now the trouble is, what they talk about is, and this is another great thing if people want to check it out, they reckon there's 144,000 souls on the planet who are here to raise and you've actually been told you might be one of these, haven't you?
I have,
right, so fair play to you. Well, and I'm thinking, well, I know you, so do me a favour, look after me. Right. But
I think it's a frequency though, to be honest.
But no, I actually spoke to somebody online the other day, and I said, because I said, how's that fair on everyone else?
Yeah.
Right? And she went, no, you're misunderstanding me. What it is there's these 144,000 souls are here to raise the frequency and vibration to help everyone ascend.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, this is a lot to take for some people, especially, but not people who are in these fields. They reckon we are going through this ascension, and Mother Earth is literally shaking off the fleas. Do you know what I mean? Which it's like, it in some ways it's like biblical, but in some ways it's amazing. It would be amazing, but in some ways it could be very fearful for some.
I think what's happening right now is a huge collapse, isn't it? And you could say it's an end of an empire of such. Something's going on for sure. And but and I've always said it, out of these collapses, there's always going to be a great thing come from it. You can't you got to demolish a plot before you build again, haven't you? You know.
I mean, the one thing I always not cling to, because I honestly believe it, like good and God or what has already won.
Yeah, of course.
Everything else, what we're seeing now, is the play out of. You know, the movie of whatever, but you know, everything's all under control. There's only a fantastic outcome. That might not be comfortable for everyone along the way, by the way. And you know, and I do think, you know, like Madonna sang on stage, not all of us are going to the future, and not all of us are going to last.
And when you're talking about people the same as us, Madonna is not one of me, I'm afraid.
Well, this is where we bring in the. Things like the Illuminati and all these. Now, if you've got people, again, they might have started off as normal people, if you like, or whatever. Some people have definitely sold their soul, if you like. They've decided to worship some kind of satanic
with ambition. They'll go through a ritual.
Yeah,
they'll do various things,
and they might not realise. Again, I don't want to say they knew that when they got into it. But like some people might have got so far and said, no, I want like a lifetime of fame. And they'll say, well, you can, but we want something in return.
Well, I think it was, there's a very, you can find it on YouTube, and there's an interview with Bob Dylan. And he basically, they ask him the question of why is he still doing it, and he's obviously an old guy now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it was still a few years old, this interview, but he said, well, sold my soul, didn't I? So you got to.
And there's a few now. Okay, they could, you could say to them, "Oh, it's a mockery in front of the camera." But sometimes the truth is said in jest.
Yeah,
I come across something the other day as well, and it was to do with certain. I don't want to go down to certain religions or types, but basically, it was talking about this certain group of people that were worshipping this satanic ritual, if you like, and I've always said this: the obviously the Baphomet and everything, the goat's head is very prominent.
You've been keeping an eye on that.
Well, the thing is, because I've been sort of getting a knowing or a feeling, right? And all I'm saying is this: there's something going on at the moment. Every time you watch your telly, right? Virgin Airlines, right? The goat is in their advert, right? Richard Branson. Right, he might have been a nice guy once, but I'm telling you now, there's a few times I've seen him lately. His eyes look like he's not there anymore. Right, a latest one, Lynx. So Lynx, and then recently McVitie's, and then and anyway, so far I've counted about 10 massive companies, and they're all using the goat.
Okay,
right. Now we know symbolic and symbology. Right. These massive companies, and it started with like Bud Light as well, when they're pushing agendas, they have no choice but to do, because they're being controlled by higher, like BlackRock, Vanguard, these type, and these are
they don't lose, do they? So they're not.
So no, they don't. They never lose. But what they're doing is they are forcing stuff on people.
Yeah, they are.
But they, in a way, we know they have to tell you.
Social conditioning.
They have to tell you in some way as well, don't they?
Yeah, they let you know.
And I'm convinced it's there's something to do with the goat, what's coming out there, and even just lately. And if we talk about old King Charles, if you look, there was something to come across, and each King Charles the First, King Charles the Second, and he's King Charles the Third. Each one of them have dissolved Parliament.
Right? Have they? Right, okay.
And forced certain things on its peasants, right? But the other day, he was talking about, we all need to tighten our belts while wearing a £3 billion crown.
I think it's hilarious that he was also talking about how can he, someone who was best chums with the most notorious one of all time.
So how can he talk about it?
And his brother's one.
But the thing is as well. But then he was also talking, because he's a big supporter of like the WEF.
Yeah, he's in the WEF,
and obviously in their agenda.
Yeah.
Now. That's a whole different thing. But again, coming back, so are they the same as us?
Well, I mean, again, this is where it gets deep, because I mean, I don't know, obviously, but David Icke has been very open.
We need to speak to David.
He's been very open, hasn't he, about the shape-shifting reptilian and the royal family and things like that. And he got destroyed for it, and he's been destroyed for it, and he's still destroyed for it now. I mean, but I can't say it is or it isn't, because I haven't experienced it.
But this is also a guy who used to speak to 20, 30 years ago, speak to one or two people who would listen. and now he's filling out for 8 and 12 hours O2 arenas.
Yeah, but let's be honest.
There's been a change.
Forget the reptilian side of things. David Icke has been right on many subjects.
Many things. You've got to give him credit for that.
Many things.
Yeah. And there is a few out there. And listen, again, I know people will talk about controlled oppositions and psyops and trying to, and even the new age stuff, and people are being tried to be pulled down all different avenues. So then we do have to say somebody's pulling the strings, but is the person pulling the strings, is it just greed, corruption and power? Mm-hmm. Or is there people who walk amongst us who are different? They live.
But that's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's about. There are entities on this planet, in our reality that are different. Yeah. And they don't want us to know they're different either.
Because let's be honest, when you're a kid and you're growing up and everything, nobody grows up saying I want to be an alcoholic or a drug addiction. No one grows up saying I want to hurt or break up a marriage and be an adulterer. And these things are put in front of us as tests.
Yeah, they are, and it's social conditioning and programming and things like you said about no child is born a racist, for example. Yeah. It's just not.
Apart from the odd exception, most people I think most people are born good. You know what I mean? There's obviously exceptions in history where there's been evil born amongst us. But usually there's a background of that as well, isn't there? Something happened in childhood to them. They, whether they was abused or whether they've seen things or, but. Yeah,
but again, I don't ever want to be arrogant enough, because I think the human beings can be extremely arrogant in believing that there's nothing more than the five senses. There is much more to this reality than meets the eye. So could there be shape-shifting reptilians? Well, I haven't seen one, but could there be? Yeah. Sure, there could.
Well, my experience of what I've seen, and I don't see it on a daily basis, it's only been on the one or two occasions when I've been privy to it. Like, as we're sat here now, there could be 100 or 1,000 different energies all around us.
I'm sure
right
it is
now.
Playing out.
And the only difference is we're not on that frequency of vibration to see it.
Exactly.
Our loved ones could be sat here next to us. Mm-hmm. There could be angels next to us. There could be higher guardian angels sat next to us.
ETs.
There could be anything.
We don't know.
There could be, but this is the thing. So when we talk about the star seeds or ETs or other galaxies, and because there's a big community now that are saying, look, we're being overseen by guardians as we go through this transition on Earth.
I just find it so very new age of the guardians things, but I don't know. But
this is what I'm saying. But what if there was not aliens? Or I don't know what you'd call them. But what if there was ETs walking amongst us?
But why not? This is the thing. Why not? Unless because you as a medium know that if you tune into a certain frequency, you're going to pick up energy from a spirit.
Yeah.
So a different radio station from Kev might pick up the ET radios. I don't know. This
is where it always gets so confusing, and a bit of my fear used to come in the past because you can't see what you're sort of tuning into, or I've never got to that stage yet, if you like. You're like, oh, well, what if I was tuning into something I shouldn't be? Or, what if I was... But then I look back over the years and I think, hold on, I've never told anybody anything negative. I've only ever give positive readings or that's a pretty shit negative energy if that's what they're giving me positive. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But so I mean you're sort of putting your trust in something that you can't see.
Yeah.
But I dare say there will be people out there who can see. There'll be people out there who see auras and colours, and there's people who are very, very sensitive to energies.
Well, we had that. I had that conversation with Michael Feely, which and he discussed it that he's seen UFOs, he's seen entities, alien entities, and it is. He basically said it's the frequency that he's operating on. He can. That's why he can see it, and that's why somebody it could be on a completely different timeline to you, sat next to you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's the world is not black and white, is it?
No, it's not. And do you know what? It's how you've got to decide as well what type of life you want.
I think so.
Because I was sat on a couch yesterday. I went to see some new clients and completely different business, nothing to do with this. And I was sat there, and they were Hindu.
Right, okay.
Very beautiful, peaceful religion. I've met Hindus before.
Yeah,
They're very much,
the oldest religion,
It's
isn't
beautiful. It is, and it's Ganesh and Ganesh's parents, which is obviously Shiva. This kind of stuff. And they were. Do you know what? They give off a feeling of very lovely, calm people.
Yeah.
Right, which is a nice energy to have. And they told me that basically they'd worked the whole life. They'd had their own news agents, and now he was obviously he was disabled now, and he was winding down in life. And it was a beautiful story, but I also at the same time thought, is that enough? There's nothing wrong with that life, because obviously they've emigrated to this country. They've built a whole life, and they've given their son, who's now amazing, travelling the world, working for like Microsoft, Google, and all this. So they've given their son an opportunity for a soul. Well, yeah, but the son's basically been given an opportunity now to have a life what he would never have had, and they've sacrificed. Not sacrificed, but they've given their life to allow that.
Yeah.
But then I asked my son driving home, and I just thought, but is that a life? Is that enough? But it's everybody's own happiness, isn't it?
I think everybody's uniquely beautiful in their own way, and everyone wants different things. There's 7 to 8 billion people on this planet.
Yeah. Because I had so much admiration for them, but I could think of nothing worse of just that. You want them. And not even just travelling and experience, but you want to know more. Well, that's the way my brain is.
Yeah,
I just want to know.
Yeah.
More. But I want the answers.
Yeah, because you're being directed that way. You probably feel that inside, don't you? You know.
Well, we said this with the platform. Listen, we could do it on a small level and do healing or a reading for one person, and listen individually. And I know it all helps the collective, but that's just not where we felt. We wanted to do something where we could have chats like this and get to a larger audience.
That's right.
We wanted to, because we wanted to have conversations with bigger platform. We want the answers, and these answers are going to come from bigger platforms out there who are probably a lot more experienced or had a lot more information privy to.
We're here to learn and pass the wisdom on, aren't we? That's the thing.
But the thing is, coming back to the original thing. So, are we different than if I go home to my missus after? She's been to work today. She's cooked the tea. She's watching telly. She's in her life and her bubble.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me, I don't think I'm any different to her. But what if I am, but I don't know I am?
Well, this is where it gets complex, because it could be just the fact that she's a younger soul and she's not gone through enough cycles to.
So do you think it could be a soul thing?
It could well be, yeah. It could well be. An older soul might be needing more, might be on the verge
more growth.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd imagine souls also at periods of lifetimes will choose the dark side as well to learn more,
to experience everything. Because ultimately, what they say is we're all a divine spark of the Creator.
That's right.
We're all.
I believe that.
I think that. I think God's left His thumbprint on everything. And so we're all experience these different things. So maybe if we're all a spark of God, would not all sparks be the same age? But then again, everything's always evolving and growing.
If you think about it this way, think of say a tree.
Yeah.
Okay, so say an acorn.
Yeah.
A tree drops a lot of acorns, and the acorn, whatever, the essence of that acorn when that tree grows is still in the tree, isn't it?
I love it. But I know what you're saying as well, because the tree is old but that's a new.
Yeah, exactly. So it's new.
And if you think about it, that could be consciousness. That could be God ever expanding,
ever growing, and
ever experiencing.
That's why I think we are. So we're every drop of the ocean. But when you
see,
you're still the ocean.
This is why I love you, because you're so much deeper than me.
But I'm just learning. Like we're both learning.
You're like in love with it, and I just want to know. I just want to know the information, but you love it.
I do, and it's an interesting journey. I just find that I'm coming into more information as I'm growing now. because I want that, and hopefully that will be good enough for our channel and good enough for the viewers as well, that we learn, because we're going to have some amazing guests coming over the next 12 months that are going to be able to bring out wisdom like this, much more, and we're both going to go, whoa, and that's what I want. I want those whoa moments.
Yeah, we want people to say, oh, did you not realise, this? And I mean, because we spoke recently to a lady who was very much, I think she had her own magic university school. And basically, she was sat across the table to us, talking to us, and she said, you're just talking to yourself. I'm not really talking to you. And you're like, what the?
I know,
And she's like, all you're doing is creating the answers to what you want to know.
I love it. I know, it's great.
But when she was talking, it was like something was resonating.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense. Because if you wanted to know something, you would create a situation in your life to find the answers.
It is one of those things where it's like the teacher comes when the student is ready, isn't it?
Yeah, or the book comes into your life when you're ready.
That's right, when you're ready.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It is amazing.
So, are we saying that what we're saying with this big question today? Are we all the same?
No,
you don't think we are all the same?
No, I think there is. There is differences. We have to be different to grow as well. I'm not saying that. I think there's empty vessels. This is my belief. I think there's empty vessels, and I think there is dark entities that can control situations to take the true souls off the path.
But where do the dark entities come from? Are they a spark of God?
Well,
playing something.
Or
is there more than?
Yeah, but it's free will involved as well, isn't there? So again, this is where it's so complex. So you've got an individual with free will that may decide to go on the dark side and start dabbling with all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It gets really, really complex. But then ultimately, they are from the divine.
Yeah, because ultimately, as well, if you speak to certain people, they'll say like, if you cut, say you cut Jesus straight down the middle, half of him is Lucifer. Mm-hmm. And half of them is Jesus. Mm-hmm. Half of them is good, half of them is bad. And that's the duality. So what if certain people they're living out this side, the negative side, and and they want to experience everything what's to do with that, where the people on the positive side, it's took them on this whole other journey, but they are going to cross and they're all part of the same thing.
The Lucifer thing is something I still struggle with, I'll be honest, because there's again, I think that's quite complex. I'm coming into information that's saying that it's not as dark as they make it out.
They talk about being a light bearer.
He is the light, so,
and also just a fallen angel, and he might not be as powerful as you realise.
This is the thing. It's so complex, but
because this is another episode, because I've always thought you can't. If you have say you're a bad person all through your life, right, and then suddenly you go, "Oh, I'm sorry," right at the end, right? Then do I get to go to heaven, kind of thing. But then I'm thinking as well, but if that was the case, then we'd have a judging God, and I don't believe God is a judging God. I think that's a human thing. I think we're thinking too much into it all. I think everything is there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. It just is, and then it's how you react and what emotions and feelings you put to the situation.
It is, and it's about it's why it comes down to mastery of self.
Wow.
It is. It's just that we go full circle there, back to what the purpose of Drake, Michigan. That's why it's such a beautiful conversation, because it comes back to intention and who you want to be and what you want in life, and how you respond to the challenges that are going to come in, the Agent Smiths, the demonic dark crap that's been thrown in your face constantly. Are you going to throw all your emotion into what's going on in the world right now for it to be loosed by the Archons as well?
So this is where I am until in the future we do an episode where I might have had my opinion changed. So I think if we take two children who are born and they're both innocent, they're both good, we are the same.
Yeah.
And then what happens is certain energies are put on each one.
Yeah.
So one of them's surrounded by, a load of negative stuff, or they're given the certain easy options in life. They're given, or like almost like, I don't know, selfishness or blah, blah, blah. Or basically, because they're in this low energy, they're attracting more negative energy, which is then making them more of a, I don't want to say a nasty person, but more of a selfish person, or more of they just tech.
Yeah.
So for me, what they've been covered in this energy of negativity, and then you've got another one who's been covered in a blanket of positive energy. So, but underneath all these layers, they are the same.
They're the same. Those are the same.
I think I'm more like a bit like that.
Yeah,
so I don't think the person actually understands why they are like they are. They might not even realise they are that in their perception. And this is a perfect one. We'll all have a family member who we just think is a selfish bastard. They always think of the self. They never give anything. It's just tech. Everyone will relate to that, right? But that person, if you speak to them, this is where probably the narcissist bit comes out. They actually probably think they're the most generous, loving person. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't even know themselves, do they?
It's so complex, Kev, because again, you could be just literally, because you're creating your own reality all the time, that individual is just a mirror. So when you start judging others anyway, you're judging your shadows that are being projected. Is that a shadow
of yourself, what you want to confront?
So there's another topic. You see, this is the thing. It's so complex. It really is.
And this is why it's important we say to people, how deep do you want to go? Because it is a rabbit hole, and certain. I mean, we've got a big shout out to Harry, who's been following our channel.
Harry,
and he's been really enjoying our stuff. So Harry, we'll dedicate this show to you, mate.
Yeah.
And we hope what we're doing, you're enjoying. But because the thing is, everybody will be able to take a certain level what we're talking about, but they might not be ready for the next level what we want to talk about because it's a bit too deep, And I've been in that situation. I remember being in a room with a fella who he was playing his bongos and all the rest of it, and he said, "We're all one, and I'm not really here." And he was talking about stealing his own coat when he was at the pub, or crashing into himself in a car. Right. And at the time, I just thought, "What?" I just thought I couldn't take that. But do you know what I said about like the book or the teacher comes into your life? So 15 years ago, I could not take that, right? Now I'm starting to think, oh, hold on a minute. There might have been something in what he was saying. I just never looked at it from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then that opens all up into like synchronicity, numbers, codes, you know what I mean? And the answers are all around you.
Well, again, and it's all energy. As you've always said, everything is energy. So they're your guidance moments, aren't they? They're the good things to get you on path. And
well, everything's energy, and energy is intelligent, right?
Yeah.
It has all the intelligence of the world, right? Now, what is the chances? What's it called? And just bringing this to a close here. So obviously, we set up this platform, and we called ourselves Drake, Michigan, right? Okay, so there's a few reasons, obviously, because of the spirit guide and everything else, why we bought that. Now, the other day, obviously, all we're doing all the time is talking and working on the Drake, Michigan project. Then suddenly, Donald Trump in America decides to do a speech to a couple of thousand people or something.
A rally.
A rally, sorry. And he's doing it in Michigan.
That's right.
So straight across the bottom of the screen, it was Donald Trump is in Michigan. And then he walked away from the podium and he stood, and behind him was a big massive sign that said Drake. So suddenly on the TV screen it said Drake, Michigan. Yeah. Now, for the likes of me and you, your hairs stand up and you're like, what? It just so happens we called our platform this. It just so happens now what are we watching here? So are we creating it? What is happening?
Well, I think again, because there's so much going on, Kev. You got scripted reality, but yet you got free will as well. So it's a complex game.
Yeah, but I will say this from the stuff that I've learned from spirit and readings over the time is whatever you've been doing over the last say 6 months, it has built up so much energy that that is going to continue to play out in the coming months. Yeah. So in that way, it's almost like your future's set in stone to a point.
To a point.
Right. Because as soon as you decide, like if you said right today, right, and I'm going to turn left instead of right. I'm going to get out to bed the other side. I'm not going to have coffee today. I'm going to have tea. So if you start making them changes, that's when you can start changing the frequency and vibration, what you've created. And this is where it all starts getting a bit turbulent, because now your energy is thinking, what's going on, right? Because you're changing stuff.
You're changing timeline.
You're changing your timeline, your frequency. Now ultimately we don't know if there's a starting point and an end point. That might have already been set before you come down here. But what you can do is you can throw a few roundabouts in, and you can take a different path.
Absolutely.
And
Well, that's the fun part, isn't it?
But that's another story as well. But anyway, listen, this episode was all about, are we all the same? And hopefully we've brought a few things for people.
Well, I'm definitely not the same as Boris Johnson.
And I'm not the same as Katie Hopkins, but she's growing on me. Until next time, thanks from Drake, Michigan. See you soon.